I see you, Random Ran. I enjoy watching your posts, especially all those photos of shadows on the steps. And I'm glad you joined me. I am just getting started, trying to figure out how to do this because I have never, ever done it before. So I am going to get started since at least one person is here. Anyway, this is my corner that I stitch in. And you can see down here my cat, who likes to sit and stitch with me. Well, he likes to sit with me. I don't think he cares so much that I'm stitching. And today I am going to start stitching on this brand new brain piece that's from my coloring book. So I take the patterns out of my coloring book and I print them on this special printer paper, and down at my collaborative print shop I do a heat press technique that gets the pattern onto the artist canvas. And I use a really thick artist canvas, which requires some pushing and pulling with the thread to get it through. Let's see. No questions yet. Okay. So I'm, it's in Massachusetts, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's a gorgeous day outside. I'm hoping to get out there a little bit later. I'm fully and absolutely and 100% retired. I don't have a job anymore. So I've been really fortunate for the last 9 years to be working part-time at a job I loved, supporting faculty in the search for federal funds for their grants to fund their research. Some of them are neuroscientists, so that was kind of fun because they encouraged me to, Hi Carrie, how you doing? Good to see you. So it's, I've really got excited yesterday, Friday, which was my last day at the job, and I am now 100% an artist, so that's really exciting. I can't figure out how to put a title on this live video, but I'm gonna just kind of sit and stitch today and talk randomly, and once in a while look for any questions that you have. So if you have any questions, you can pop them in the question box, and I'll see if I can address them. Hello there, thanks for joining. So I'm gonna sort of get started. Today is my first ever live attempt, so I feel kind of idiotic sitting here talking to a camera, but I'm seeing people, so that's nice. Thank you for coming, thank you for showing up. So I'm gonna start a brand new piece today. I printed this out of my coloring book, the Brilliant Brain coloring book. And it's printed on artist canvas because after I do all the stitching, I like to stretch it on stretcher bars and then paint around the stitching. I've been doing this technique for, let's see, about 30 years. I first started it when I had little kids at home and I needed to have an art project and something creative to do while I was taking my kids, watching my kids, taking them to the park. So I started taking stitching with me everywhere I went because I'm just the kind of person that I don't like to have idle hands. It's just hard for me to sit still. I think part of that's my own anxiety and my agita. So I always have something to do. So I'm going to get started. This is artist canvas. I've got all my tools here with me. We have the cat too, who likes to just sit with me all the time. I always keep by my side when I'm stitching on canvas some pliers because sometimes I have to pull the actual needle through the back. And here's my little scissors. And I have a pack of needles because I often break needles while I'm working on the canvas. And then I have over here my hoop, which I'm going to use. I always use a hoop because it's just easier to work on it. And I've got my big old thread box. This is all the embroidery thread that I've collected. Hello, more people are joining. Thank you for coming. I picked out a few threads to start with, and I'm gonna get started with these, and I'm not gonna have it all planned out before I go because I sort of like to improv. I sort of like to take it as it comes and decide what I'm doing as I go. Sometimes I get in trouble doing that because if you don't plan things out, you can end up in a mess. I'm kind of in a mess right now with my current work in progress. But more about that another time. So we're gonna just sort of sit and stitch now. And I decided on this piece that I'm going to split my 6-strand thread into 2 bits because I don't usually do that because it takes a lot longer. It's going to take twice as long as when I stitch with 6 threads. But this pattern is incredibly detailed, and I'm a little bit nervous I'm going to lose some of the detail on it if I don't have a thinner thread. So I'm going to get started. And this is my little stitching bag that stays to the left of my chair over here. And I keep my needles in here. Hi, Maya. Oh, that's my daughter. She just joined. Yay. So I'm going to start by, I think I'm going to use this hot pink right at the very, very center of the design. And I am going to, like I said, I'm going to split the thread. Okay, and that cat's trying to get in over here because he really prefers if I just sit and pet him all the time. He doesn't really like it that I stitch, but he tolerates it because he knows that's what I do. So one of my big problems, one of the things that I make a mistake about a lot is that I use too long of a thread. So I'm going to try to use a shorter thread today. And I take the 6-strand thread, and I'm going to just literally split it into 2 sections of 3 strands each. And thread my needle. My hands are shaking a little bit because I'm nervous. I'm doing this live because I've never done anything live before. All right, I'm going to see if any of you have questions. No questions yet. You can pop a question in if you'd like to have a question answered, and I will do my best to keep an eye on that. All right, so I'm going to point the camera away from my face and more towards the stitching. Let's see. No, that doesn't work too well. Here, we'll try that again. Okay. So I'm going to just start in the very, very middle, and I'm going to go with a satin stitch for this first part. And there we go. I think I'm going to go around and stitch on top of the black lines first to sort of make sure I stay on track with those lines. And so Friday was my last day of the job. And now I am a 100% artist. I've never done this before in my life. I always had work. I've had a lot of different kind of careers in my life. This last job has been 9 years at Mount Holyoke College, where I was the sponsored research officer. That means I was the person who helped all the faculty with their grant applications in trying to find funding. All right. I hope you you guys can see this well enough. You'll have to let me know. Oh, Maya says, can you zoom the camera in a little bit? Sure, I can try. I don't know how to, oh, there we go. There we go. That works. Thank you, Maya. A little bit of help from my friends and my daughter. So I had 9 years at Mount Holyoke College, and I worked part-time that whole time, trying to also spend a lot of time on my art business. And it was really a blessing to be able to have a job that I liked, to work with people that I really enjoyed spending time with. And I learned a lot about neuroscience. I learned that I found out about this neuroscience convention that I have been exhibiting at, well, before COVID anyway. I learned about that from a neuroscientist that I worked with at Mount Holyoke College, who told me, oh, Laura, you need to be exhibiting there with all the other artists who do that. I'm going to anchor the middle of this with a little French knot, because I think that a little extra texture there would be nice. And I don't like the way the threads are all joining up together at the middle. Let's see if I can do this so y'all can see. So you wrap it around twice and back down and pull the thread through. And there we go. There you have it. Okay. Oh, Maya says it's better now. Good. It always helps to have people who know more about technology than I do. I've tried to learn, but it's challenging for me because it's not something that feels really natural to me. But you know what? In this day and age with COVID and everything, there is no way that we can only do things in person, you know? We have to learn how to do them online. Okay, what kind of fabric do I use? This is an artist weight canvas. It's pretty heavy. It takes paint really well. It's hard to stitch through, which is why I often keep my little pliers handy, because sometimes I have to actually pull the needle through the back with the pliers. So it's a heavyweight artist canvas, and I, after I'm done with the embroidery, I stretch it onto stretcher bars, and then I paint around the embroidery. So. Oh, more people are joining. Nurse Mel, thanks. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate that. This is my very first live. I'm so nervous. My little hands are shaking over here. And I appreciate how many people have showed up. That's really lovely. So I am just gonna sit and stitch and kind of talk a little bit. And if you have questions, you can ask me. And you're welcome. You're welcome. And I was saying before, I've been doing this kind of work, combining embroidery and paint, for about 30 years, since Maya was a little girl. When I had my kids, we would go to the playground. I used to always like to take stitching or something with me. And but I'm also an artist at heart, so I have always wanted to include the painting. It gives me a little more flexibility, and it's a technique I never really saw anybody else do. So I kind of like that it's sort of my own thing. Hi, Annam. Thanks for joining us. Oh, look, I know Annam's she's across the water, the big water. She's in Europe. And it's really nice to have you here. Thanks for joining. So I am just doing a little bit of stitching, starting on a brand new mandala pattern that I took out of my coloring book. You can buy my coloring book direct from me, or you can also find it on Amazon. I know a lot of people don't like Amazon, and they're not my favorite company either, but I self-published on there, which makes it easy for people to buy it all over the world. which is nice because it's print on demand. So I didn't have to make hundreds of copies and keep them in a closet here, which is what I would have done if the Amazon thing didn't work. So let me see if you have any questions. There's a little question mark thing, no questions. But I also see comments when you post up. So go ahead and ask me some questions if you want. I'm happy to answer them. I picked out just a few colors that I knew I want to have in this. They're right here. Oops. But I'm going to also be picking some other colors as I go. I didn't plan the whole thing out. I often don't plan the whole thing out. Sometimes that gets me in trouble, but usually it all works out okay. And I realize as I'm getting to this fourth section of embroidery, little piece of embroidery, that I missed doing one of the lines in the middle. So I do a lot of stitching because it really helps kind of keep me calm, and I find it very meditative. And I just have this thing, I don't know if it's my upbringing or if it's just my personality, but I really hate sitting still. So I always have a little stitching going on. Oh, looks like there's a question here. Oh, Maya asks, how do you choose your colors for each piece? That's a good question. I really well, you probably know if you've been following me that I tend to love rainbows. I have always been a rainbow fanatic. When I was in my young 20s, right out of college, I lived in an apartment in San Francisco, and I had rainbow everything all over my whole apartment. It just brings me joy. Real live rainbows bring me joy, and rainbows in essence are a symbol that I find very hopeful and very exciting. So hi Carol, hi Taryn, thanks for joining. So I tend to work in rainbow themes, except occasionally when I'm doing something that has a different palette. But I like bold colors and bright colors, and yeah, Sam Juju. Rainbow love, we love the rainbow. So on this piece, when I originally designed it on the iPad, it is a mandala that has rainbow colors in it. And I'm starting out with the pinks and purples, and I have one blue color picked out, but you know that the rest of the rainbow is going to be in here too. I don't know if it's going to be in rainbow order, probably, but I don't know that yet because I'm still deciding as I go along. Excuse me. And the cat's all nestled up here next to me. I don't know if y'all can see my cat. But this is his favorite position. So, okay. Shouldn't mess around with the camera when I'm in the middle, should I? All right, let's go back to embroidery. There we go. Back to the embroidery. I'm using a thinner thread than normal. I usually use the full 6-strand DMC cotton. And on this one, I split the 6 strands into 2 strands of 3 because I wanted a thinner, more delicate thread. It's going to take me twice as long to do, but now that I don't have a job, woohoo! I've got time, so it's okay that it's going to take me a long time. Sam wants to know, what stitching pattern are you doing now and how to do it? Oh, this is called a satin stitch. It's really pretty simple. You take the needle up. Thanks, Carol. You take the needle up and then you lay it down right next to the other thread that you've laid down. And it's just thread lined up next to thread. That's the stitch that I'm using. The pattern that I'm working from comes from my coloring book. Satin stitch is probably one of the first stitches I ever learned. I learned how to embroider when I was in high school. My mother, who's a quilter, gave me a big giant book of embroidery stitches, and I was that person who was embroidering on their friends' jean jackets back in the 1970s. So the hard thing about the satin stitch is lining up the threads really perfectly in a line, which sometimes I'm better at than others. Okay. It's a slow art form, embroidery. You can't rush through it, or if you rush through it, you get into trouble. You end up with tangled threads and you end up with sloppy work. So I just try to take it really slow and don't push myself to go any faster than I can. Do it and do a good job of it. The one nice thing about embroidery is that you can sort of take it with you when you go places. I have a little embroidery bag that I take with me when I travel. And it actually sits right next to this chair where I am. And of course it has a brain on it. But I can fit everything I need to embroider in this one little bag. Oh, Taryn, great. That's the piece you used for my brain pattern. Yeah, Taryn did a beautiful job on my brain pattern. She used all blues, which I hadn't seen anybody do before, so that was really lovely. Maya wants to know, how long does each piece take you? It really depends on the piece, but I have tried several times to keep track of hours on a piece, but it's really challenging for me to do that because I sit and stitch at odd moments and I forget to keep track of time. But it usually takes a few weeks of anywhere from 2 to 6 hours of sitting and stitching. So it's really a very long time. I would say probably, I would guess that at least 100 hours goes into each piece that I do. But I'll be honest, I just don't keep track of time, partly because I don't want to find out that I'm working for $2 an hour when I sell a piece. But it's also just challenging for me to remember to keep time on a piece that I'm picking up and putting down all the time. So we should probably do a time check here and see how long to keep going at this. And I think maybe next time I should put some music on in the background. What do you think? I'm gonna try to do this kind of sit and stitch a little more frequently. So it'll give people an opportunity to ask me questions. If you have any questions about what I do, how I do it. Maya was just gonna say that. Yeah, it'll be, I think it'll be fun. You know, I think I'm gonna go until I hit the end of the pink where I wanna stop, and then I'm gonna turn this baby off. because I think that we got to see how it came out. How many of you would like to see me do this more often? I'm thinking this time of day, this day of the week is probably a good one because people who are working might be having the day off. And, oh, thank you, Sam. That's great. It's also a time when my partner, Izzy, is always busy because he has a regular clubhouse room that he does this time, which I shouldn't promote because then everybody's going to go over there. He does improv, and he does something called applied improv, which is to take improv techniques and use them in your life to improve communication, spontaneity. Okay, I am almost done with this section, so I'm going to be signing off pretty soon. Any other questions before I sign off? I'm going to try to come back here and do this again next Sunday. Artistic partners, yay, Taryn. We are. Okay. How do you knot it in the back? I'm going to show you in 1 minute. All right, so the last pink thread is going down. Can you guys see this? Can you see the pink at the center? All right, so then I turn it over and I stitch a few times, go back and forth. And then I slip through one little knot. And there you have it. And there you have it, the center of the next design. And I'm going to put this down for a minute and put this back where you can see my face. Hi! And I just want to thank everybody who showed up. I was not sure anybody would, so thank you so much, Sam. I was not sure anybody would come, so I'm really happy to see all of you here. And thank you, Maya, for all the prompting questions, since I didn't know what to talk about clearly. And I hope that some of you will come and join me on a regular basis. I am going to be doing this every Sunday at 11 a.m. And hopefully I'll get better as we go along. This was my very first time. So, hi, Perry. This was my very first time doing this, and I was a little nervous and shaky, but oh, thank you, Taryn. Taryn said, keep putting yourself out there. And yeah, I'm trying. Now that I'm a full-time artist, and I don't have a day job that I need to show up for, and I don't have a whole bunch of other people asking me for things, I can do what I need and want to do. And what I need and want to do is to be here talking to you guys and doing some stitching. So I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you all for coming. I really, really, really appreciate it. And now let's see if I can figure out how to turn it off. Yes.